we're going to learn about solving quadratic equations. So all the reason we learned about simplifying radicals is so that we had an algebraic method to solve quadratic equations. So a quadratic equation is something of the form. So a quadratic equation, one example of a quadratic equation is x squared plus 2x minus 5 equals 0. This is called a quadratic equation. In general, the quadratic equation form is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And this is called standard form of a quadratic. Standard form. Now the only difference between this and the thing before, we had like a y over here. The only difference between this and the equation in standard form is that this has a 0 on that side. And anytime you're trying, there's a couple different ways to solve quadratic equations, but this is a quadratic equation in standard form. And a is the coefficient of the x squared term, coefficient meaning the number before, and b is the coefficient of the x term, so in this case b would be 2, and c is called the constant term, so in this case c would be negative 5. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is solve by graphing, and then we're going to do algebraically, which I like a little bit better. Hello? Can you hear me? Testing. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. It's not on. So, anyway, solve by graphing. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to solve by graphing. Solve by graphing x squared minus 4 equals 0. So what this means is find out where this equation is equal to 0. Okay? That's what it means by solving. It means find where x is equal to 0. Well, we're going to do it algebraically in a minute, but the way you solve it by graphing is to make a graph. You want to put arrows on both ends, I think. Make a graph, and then make a little table of values. And this one should be pretty easy. I'm going to make a little table over here. Whoops. Okay, good enough. And then I'm going to put a x and a y. Well, the easiest point to pick on this graph is x is 0. When x is 0, I think you guys could do this in your head. When x is 0, what's y? Can anyone tell me? Negative 4. Does everyone see where the negative 4 comes from? I don't know if you can do the math, do I? 0 squared minus 4 is equal to, well, first I'm graphing I'm not going to worry about this yet, okay? What I'm doing is I'm graphing the equation y equals x squared minus 4. So I'm not graphing this equation, I'm graphing this equation, and then I'm going to see where the y value is equal to 0. So now I'm going to plug in another number. So we have a point on here, 0 down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 0 down 4. And then I'm going to go to the right one place. So when I plug in 1 in here, not in here, sorry. When I plug in 1 in here, what do I get out? Negative 3. Does everyone see where 100 got negative 3 from? 1 squared minus 4 gives you negative 3. So I have another point on here, 1 down 3, which would be right there. And then when I plug in 2 in here, okay, what do I get out? 2 squared. What's 2 squared? 4 minus 4 is 0. So I get a new point, 2, 0. And so using also the axis of symmetry, I know that this one has an axis of symmetry at x equals 0, which is the y-axis. So this parabola is going to look like this on this side, because all quadratic equations make parabolas. And it's going to look exactly the same on the other side, except those points are symmetric over here, and it's going to go something like that, right? Okay, now let's answer the question. Where is, on this parabola, y equals x squared minus 4, where is x squared minus 4 equal to 0? In other words, where is y equal to 0? By looking at the graph. Where's y equal to 0? Here and here, right? They're saying, what is x when y is 0? Well, in one place, x, this is one answer, and the other answer is this one. What's this point right here? Brian, what's this point right here? This is 2, 0, so what would this be? Negative 2, 0, okay? So that's your answer. So basically, what you're doing when you're solving a quadratic equation, when you have 0 on this side, you're finding where it crosses the x-axis, okay? And that's called finding the zeros. It's called solving by graphing, okay? And so on. And so the answer is x equals 2 or x equals negative 2. So with a lot of these, you will get 2 answers. Questions? Okay, we're going to do a couple more. I'm sorry. You ready to do a couple more? Morgan? Come on. Give me $1. Just kidding. All right, so solve by graphing. Solve by graphing. Now this isn't the most efficient way, but I'm just kind of showing you why sometimes you get one answer and sometimes you get 2 answers. Because you got to realize that you're dealing with parabolas. What are those things called again? Parabolas. Parabolas, thank you. Okay? Parabolas. So look here. So first what you're going to do is you're going to graph y equals x squared. And this is a really easy one to graph. When x is 0, when I plug in 0 in here, what do I get for y? When x is 0, what's y? What's 0 squared? 0. Grant? 0. When I plug in 1 in here, what do I get out, Grant? What's 1 squared? 1. When I plug in 2, what do I get out, Grant? 4. Okay? When I plug in 3, what do I get out? 9. So this one goes through 0, 0. I also know, remember the vertex, negative b over 2a? Well, since this thing doesn't have an x part, a bx or a c part to it, bx plus c, it means that b must be 0. So that must mean that x equals 0 is the line axis of symmetry, okay? Which means that this is the turning point, 0, 0. And then it goes 1, 1, and then it goes 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it goes 3, 9, which is way up here somewhere. And then because of symmetry, you could sketch the other half like this, okay? 1, negative 2, and then I'm going to sketch in my parabola. And I'm going kind of fast, but it shouldn't take it out. Oh, my color didn't change. Okay? So, to answer the question, where is x squared equal to 0? Where is y equal to 0 on this parabola? What is the x value when y is 0? 0. Right here. This is the only one. Right there. X equals 0. Y equals 0. That's what they're asking you. When x equals 0. That's basically what they're asking. When is y 0? Y is 0 only when x is 0. So there's only one answer for that. You get that, Karen? kind of? You want to take notes of that? You want to look at that for a minute? You want to let that sink in, Brian? Is that sinking in? Sure. Lydia, what are you writing? Should be writing math notes. Okay. Next, let's do one more. Whoops, I don't want to put lines on my. I don't want to put end lines on. Ooh, I like orange though. Let's do an orange graph. Or is this orange? Sure, why not? It reminds me of creamsicles. You guys like creamsicles? Those things with orange and vanilla ice cream in the middle? No? Those are my favorite thing in the summer too. All right, so solve by graphing. Y equals x squared plus 4. So, oops, that's not what I'm going to, y equals x squared plus 4. So I'm going to solve x squared plus 4 equals 0. So I say solve by graphing. And we're going to make a table of values. So we make a little table right here, x, y. When x is 0, what's y? Brian, when x is 0, what's y? When I plug in 0 in here, what do I get out? Oh, sorry. When I plug in 0 in there, what do I get out? 4. Thank you. When I plug in 1 in there, what do I get out? 1 squared plus 4. 5. When I plug in 2 in there, what do I get out? 2 squared. 8, right? Thanks, Blake. Who said that? Blake? Yes? Good man. All right. So I have points on here, 0, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 1, 5, which is up here. And then I have 2, 8, which is way up here somewhere, which I can't see. Right? 2, 8, way up here somewhere. So what I get is this parabola that's looking like this and like this. So the question is, when is x plus 4 equal to 0? When is y equal to 0? What can you tell me? You have a puzzled look on your face, Kylie. Why? How come? Very nice, okay? It doesn't ever. See? So they're asking you, or excuse me, when is y equal to 0? Y is never equal to 0. Okay? So never. So if this parabola doesn't cross the x-axis, which happens quite frequently, you have no solutions. Okay? So the answer is this, never, and you write no solution. And that's how you do that. Okay? So how many solutions would this graph have if I were to graph that parabola? 2. 1 here and 1 here. How many solutions would this parabola have? How many solutions would that parabola? I'm just kind of sketching. How many places does it cross the y-axis? 1 solution, right? How many solutions would this parabola have? 0, okay? So when it crosses in 2 places, you have 2 solutions. Each of these is a solution. When it crosses in 1 place, you have 1 solution. When it crosses in no places, you have no solutions. All right? So this one doesn't ever cross the x-axis, so you have no solutions. Okay, so now we're going to take a rest because Mr. Lear's tired. Pause. So a lot easier than graphing these things is doing them algebraically. So when you have a graphing calculator, a lot of times, like with in my advanced classes, when I teach pre-calculus and stuff, you have real arcs of parabola. So we talked about this too. Like maybe you'll have a parabola like a ball being launched from a platform or a rocket or something. And they'll say, when does the ball hit the ground, right? And this is like half of a parabola that looks like this. And this represents a solution. A lot of times those don't come out neat, like 2 or 1 or -5 or something like that. So use your graphing calculator to find the solution. So that's one way it's useful to find it graphically. but it's nicer and more straightforward to find them, I think, algebraically. And that one way you can do that is using square roots. So finding solutions algebraically, finding solutions using square roots. Using square roots. Pretty easy. So say we have 2x squared equals 98. And they say solve. Could you do that? Brian, look up here, okay? On your iPod. Okay? Solve this just like you're solving an algebraic equation. First thing I want to do is get the x squared by itself. Who could tell me how to get the x squared by itself? What would I do to both sides? Divide by 2. That's all you have to do. Divide both sides by 2. Okay? And now I get x squared equals 49. Now what do I do? How do I get rid of an x squared? Anyone know? What's the opposite of squaring something? No, not divide by x. Square rooting it, okay? If x squared equals 49, then x equals plus or minus the square root of 49. I'll show you in a minute. So, because, well, we'll just get there, okay? This is equal to plus or minus, what is the square root of 49? 7, okay? Because what's negative 7 times negative 7? 49. And what's positive 7 times positive 7? 49. So when you take the square root of something to solve, you always have to have a plus or minus something. So, like looking at this thing geometrically, x squared, so 2x squared equals 98. Well, I happen to know that 2x squared, you don't have to do this, but 2x squared is a really steep graph, okay? Well, pretty steep graph. And there's going to be 2 points on here. One at x is positive 7, and one at x is negative 7, where y is equal to 49. Where y is equal to 49. So these are these 2 points that you're talking about. Do you see that? Where is x squared equal to, where is 2x squared equal to 98? Oh, sorry. This would be 98, not 49. 98, 98. But that's algebraic, that's graphically what it means. You don't have to do it graphically, but that's what it means. All right, so next problem. Solve 3n squared plus 12 equals 12. 3n squared plus 12 equals 24. Let's do 24. And they say solve. You like algebra, okay? This is just step by step by step. Who could tell me the first step? If this were just 3x plus 12 equals 24, what would be the first step? Not divide. What do I do first? Minus 12. So first thing you do is you get rid of the 12. Okay, remember when you solve an equation, you do opposite of the order of operations. Okay? So you get 3n squared. This goes away, equals 12. Now what do I do? Divide by 3. So now I'm going to divide that equation by 3, which makes this go away. And I get n squared equals 4. So what's n equal to? Plus or minus what? Plus or minus what? The square root of 4, which is equal to plus or minus 2. Okay? It's not that bad, is it? So just to show you what this means graphically, watch. 3n squared plus 12 makes a steep parabola that goes through 12. And what they're trying to figure out is where is y equal to 24. One way you can do that on a graphing calculator. Should I show you this? You might be interested. Let me just show you, because you might be interested. Say I have a graphing calculator at your ready. All right? I want to show you this because I think it's kind of cool. Okay? U, y is in front. Okay? So I go to y equals, and my, oops, I'm in the wrong mode. Mode, function. Okay? And I'm going to go to y equals. Y equals. Okay. Y equals. And I'm going to put in this parabola. I don't want to shade it either. It's really beautiful. I don't know. Oh. Just needs to be a plain old dash. Sorry, guys. Doing, and then it drives me crazy. There, good enough. Okay, I'm going to go to this one. I'm going to change this one. All right. So if I go to y equals and I put in this graph 3n squared plus 12, y equals, it will let me do that. Y equals 3x, I use x squared plus 12. Plus 12, I didn't need plus 1. 3x squared plus 12. And then I graph the line y equals 24. And I set my window so that I can see this. Okay, I'm going to set this y max up to like 30. You'll see what I'm doing in a minute. Okay? And then I hit graph. Watch. Okay? There's that parabola, there's the line. See what I did? That's that right over there. And I could actually do an intersection, second calculate. And if I go intersect, 5, intersection, and it'll ask me first curve, I'm going to go over here. This is what you do when you get down to 2. And then I'll say second curve, and I tell you. And it tells you there, and you hit guess, and it says where do they intersect? X equals 2. Y equals 24. You see what I did? Okay? So if you had a graphing calculator, this point, that point on here, corresponds to this positive point over here. And the other point of the intersection is that one over there. Okay? So it's just kind of like, you don't have to know how to do that, but it's just kind of showing you graphically what we're actually doing. Okay? Last one. Solve 2y, maybe you can try. Oh, no, let's solve 2y squared plus 32, 2x squared I wrote, oh well, equals 0. What would I do first? Minus 32 from both sides. So I'm going to minus 32 from both sides, minus 32, minus 32, and then I get 2x squared equals negative 32. Now what? Now what? What do I do with this 2? All right, get rid of this 2. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. And I get x squared equals negative 16. And then I get x squared equals plus or minus the square root of negative 16. What's the square root of negative 16? No. There is no square root of negative 16. If you try to do that on your calculator, you'll get no answer. No, you can't take the square root of a negative number because there's no number that it times itself that'll give you a negative number, because negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16, right? And positive 4, it's not a positive and negative. So this means no solution. In other words, again, what we're looking at graphically is this parabola up here, right? And it's never going to cross the x-axis, which is what I'm looking for. Okay? So that's how you do it, Brian. You ready to do your homework? Okay. Your homework, should you try to accept it? Homework, page 531. 531, 2 through 20, even and 15, 21, and 37. 15, 21, and 37. And you might need some graph paper to do the first few. Okay? And remember that you heard it here on Mr. Leader's YouTube channel. Bye.